agenda, Councilmember Marsden. Councilmember Piscopo.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. Now to approval of minutes. June 10th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion. Johnson, second by Henderson. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Piscopo. Yes. Councilmember Marsden. Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So annual revenue potentially be. And Brian points out that, these are just estimates based on information generated from public sources, the internet, things like that. And, once, if it's passed, then obviously it would take a few years before they kind of get, exact numbers on what they would potential revenue that it would potentially generate. And then at the end of the memo on page 31, Brian kind of shows what it would look like potentially if, only a portion of the exemption was removed based on, the size of the fleet in Nome. And this is being as a possible suggestion to reduce the sort of the penalty or the higher tax cost by importing aircraft here. By the more aircraft you import here, the lower your tax rate will be. And I think that might, I think that's an interesting piece of this. Again, these are just ideas for the council to consider, that we could look at, when considering this issue. I don't know if there's a design. Now, this is the first time I've had numbers. So I don't know if the council, we had 3 or 4 work sessions already. I don't know if there's an appetite to have any more. Just kind of look at this and move forward with an ordinance in the first reading. I think, Glenn, I think there was an ordinance a draft ordinance that.
There was a draft ordinance that just did not get on this agenda.
Yeah, so, I don't know if there's a desire now that we have some potential numbers, if we're willing to have a work session. So that's, I think the city clerk's office and Marty, I know they've done a lot of work on this, trying to develop, some projected revenues. Potential piece of legislation.
I guess I might suggest that we, I don't know if there's any of these things particularly that I'm interested in having to an ordinance for the first reading for the year.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'd say, I guess I don't know what the draft ordinance would say at this time. I'm interested in taking 100% of the things.
That would be the option, And I think the purpose was that we could, from a staff standpoint, we could, if you wanted us to start even at 80%, with a 20%, but the idea was to also incentivize folks to, keep as many planes on the ground, so that if you get up into the higher exemption amounts, there's an incentive for you to have your fleet here.
Yeah, and this suggested proposed exemption schedule, tiered exemption schedule, it's the only industry that would apply to. Every other business, personal property tax is just assessed at 100% of the value of the equipment every year, and this is, I think it's an interesting idea. I personally, I like the idea of providing incentives and lower tax rates, for to keep aircraft here. So I like the idea and the concept. So,
I mean, we can bring this, it's ready to go. And maybe schedule a work session in between, so that we can give the carriers the proper notice. I think that's always been the issue, but from a staff standpoint, recommending that the exemption be limited
I don't, I mean, I'm open to that idea.
I think that discussion there was looking at, starting at 20% of the value, maybe raising it to 40, raising it to 60. I think it's, and this has been discussed with Marty and Sam Severin, our city solicitor, and Dan and I, and also talking with Scott since he's had the interest in this, is how do we make it not seem onerous, but that, starting to remove the exemption. And the other issue is taking into consideration the value of the planes, which, we try to take into consideration the value of the planes is a lot higher than the values of a lot of equipment that is operated here. I don't think too many people are operating a $106 million plane. So how do we come up with a number that's more feasible?
I mean, we could look at potentially easing into it if there was a desire, to, gradually implement remove the exemption first year of, 20% or 30%. I think the goal that the administration is trying to do is keep it as simple as possible. What do you think, Mark?
Clearly,
I think there's spinning these wheels for how many work sessions now. I don't think we've ever come to a conclusion either in this. We don't know exactly what we're looking at and implement it. Numbers are, and something on the second paragraph where it says, these are truly estimates based on total information which may or may not be current or accurate. That kind of sums up the whole thing. I think it's a waste of staff time. I think it should be the staff, the special projects manager could be spent time analyzing our budget and see why we're 1.8 million instead of 1.4, instead of where we're at, instead of spending time on this. I don't think we've got the support of the council for
Really? What makes you say that?
nobody's trying to, nobody says, oh, yes, that's a great idea.
So you're okay with raising homeowners' property taxes and like a buy, but yet you're not even willing to consider alternative sources.
So I'm okay looking at ways to,
Because you drove the increase in the rate last couple of meetings, as I recall. That's what I thought.
I don't recall that discussion.
But you're okay with
I've
raising
never argued with these.
No, I mean,
When you get the speaking, time he's, I realized that I'd say, I drove the right up the wires.
no, that's not what I said. What I said is you supported increasing homeowners' rate this year by $1 million.
As you know,
And but you're not willing to support alternative sources of revenue that would help to lower or stabilize the rate. And I think a part of the motivation, so on my part, is that homeowners are often viewed as an easy target for increasing revenue whenever there's a hole in the budget. Oh, well, let's just increase the mill rate. This is a proposal. It's not, obviously there's nothing set in stone. This is a proposal to remove an exemption on the only industry that is exempt from the personal property tax. I don't think there's no one has said we're going to balance the budget with this. But, I think this helps to balance out or spread the tax base. And if you don't support this, instead of just criticizing, the clerk's office, the special projects manager, the special project manager works together, what reason do you have to not support this?
has there been any study done on the ramifications of this?
That's your question, my question.
Okay, that's my answer.
They've done the best analysis they can possibly do.
Yes, I have.
actually use the best information available. So for you to say Ryan wasted his time, I completely disagree with you on that because he spent a lot of time looking at this and trying to figure out, okay, I mean, have you read the memo?
So I read it several times, Scott.
You understand that,
I understand it. I look at numbers all the time, every day, every week. I can't figure out what this memo says. It's the same thing that we were at 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago when we looked at it. And there's a lot of unknowns. One of the unknowns I have is whether there's any ramifications on our fleet that we already have, including freight carriers that we have currently have 4 that we leased. Whether the ramifications will be on that, detrimental ramification on us charging more fees beyond the fees they already pay at the airport.
maybe detrimental.
So right now, if they're on a slim margin, flying into Nome, and they can't pass us on because there's 4 competing for the same.
You understand they can pass this tax law. You understand that, right?
Necessarily not we're not in a market where the policy all pass it.
I mean, when you were at the bypass at the meetings, I think Mr. Rowe explained multiple times how the mail rate and how the bypass mail rates are set. And basically, then from those mail rates are the rates that are charged for like Medicare and Medicaid, which is the majority. Mail is the majority of revenue generated by the carriers in this region. And government paid for, which is typically health service related, is paid for the passenger side. Those are all reimbursed through the federal government. Um, I'm not sure if you're aware, but every year the carriers that are hauling mail submit their costs to the federal government. And if their operating costs, which do include taxes, increase by 5%, guess what happens to the rate the mail rate the following year? Increases by 5%. That was in the memo that was put in the city council packet from the Department of Transportation. I think it was about a month ago.
It's not the following years.
Okay, the timing might be, but there is a method in place for the carriers that may be affected by this tax to be reimbursed by the federal government for those increased costs. You're aware of that, correct?
I read the same one.
Well, just clarifying because you said you didn't really understand it. There's a lot of confusing information in there. I was trying to clarify it.
I understand what you're stating, some of the additional information we have.
The other part, Mark, as Councilmember Johnson, when we were going through the budget, there were plenty of opportunities to make recommendations where you suggested cut it to try to balance the budget. As far as I know,
And you know what happened? I got a
is that record?
I've got my slate right now. When I suggested any reducing the budget, I got pushback from you because you said, "Oh, that the budget is what it is. We can't literally cut anything. It's the cost of us cutting. We didn't really look at hard. I look at why are our costs escalating as high as they are.
Plenty of opportunities to cut the budget. You actually proposed one, and I agreed with one, and that was to remove the record, and then there was another one that we moved around. I think it was Project, the 911 funds that we used to upgrade the radio station. Those were the 2 cuts that I think, we all discussed and we all agreed. So I guess my question is if you don't support it, that's fine. But I don't think it's fair to keep going back to the Marshall saying, what the budget is what it is. We have an opportunity here to provide some additional revenue into the city budget to try to keep the
that's a little bit easier. And Marty was telling us how much we should be able to generate that tax. That was the easy one. Then we also looked at the other carriers in terms of freight airlines and what type of airplanes that they were flying, and we gave that information to Marty for him to come back and say, this is what we look at as the assessor, as the value of that aircraft.
We're using the best information that's available to us. And I think it's laid out right here now. Those numbers may come back, they're not going to be exact, but anytime it's the same process we went through when we were looking at seller's tax. To use that, it started out as an estimate. They're just trying to project, and I think they used a percent actual sales tax numbers to try to come up with an initial. So that's what you do when you start something from scratch. So I think that, my position is, and I don't mind taking our position here because, it's $2 million. And I think Lynn said, and Mark, you're a CPA, you understand this really well. In a year, 18 months, we could start having problems with renewal because it goes so long in terms of seasonal dips and things like that before we start having issues. And for us not looking at those, when you look at the sort of the job responsibilities of the city council, putting together an operating budget is right there at the top. And this is really important. And the other, and if you don't support this, I'd be curious as to where you think we should get some revenue to fill the $2 million we currently have. Most likely, it's probably going to be worse when we fix the structural problem that we have.
Okay, so I guess let's just takes 100% exemption away.
With the ability to change it, make an amendment, because I don't support it 100%. Am I ready to say, okay, I support, as written, or exemption, even graduated? I think we need to have that discussion, and I think we'll have it in first or second reading. Because we can make amendments at the time of discussion.
That we can is, if we publish something closer to what we're actually going to end up with. But let's have mentions 100%.
That's a 100% review input. That's an estimate. It could be higher, it could be lower. It's on the first page of the memo. And what is, it gets down to what are you trying to capture revenue, everybody's share that are paying personal property tax.
If I think that I definitely support the larger the fleet or the more aircraft that are homeported here, the larger the exemption based on the size of the fleet. I definitely support that. And others that I've talked to feel the same way. I haven't talked to anybody that said, let's remove this exemption at 100% and do it all right now. I haven't had any, and I don't particularly feel that way. I think if we're going to pass this, we need to ease into it. And then in terms of put in further exemptions or whatever, we can have that discussion.
So if we assume Alaska Airlines had 2 planes a day, so they're on Brian's land, 1 hour
essentially Alaska Airlines for 2 jets. 100% of it is $51,000. So it's the same number for 51,000 2 jets.
It's all based on the value of the aircraft.
Right, but I'm
So if
just
you had two of the same aircraft,
yes, I mean, and they're actually using one, they're using a smaller one. And I don't it's,
they have several different ones that are each coming in per day, then you'd have those respective calculations. Based on like here, the 737-200, right? Market value on this next to the last one, $6.5 million, 270,000 on 365th, or excuse me, 124, because it's an hour a day and under outlook and a half mil rate, even though it's a 6.4 aircraft, it only generate barely $3,000 tax rate. But I think that's how calculation works. So obviously, the longer your time on the ground, the higher your taxable value, where the tax liability per aircraft.
well, we know the 737-200, not an Alaska Airlines plane. So
Yeah.
that's going to be
I'm guessing
accurate, probably.
accurate.
And so I guess it's a totally different. This should every aircraft that touches down. I guess it would still only have that 1 hour a day mission. So whether they used one plane or 10 planes, I don't see how it changes the value. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm just not reading it right.
Again, these are just examples based on aircraft. It's not like, so if somebody had two 737s and they were worth each $6.1 million, right? And they both stayed on the ground for an hour every day, then the taxable value, whatever, 278.33 times 2 is unrestricted aircraft, and the resulting tax liability would be twice that. So again, this isn't designed to show this is what each individual aircraft liability. Now, all of those examples in the table shows that the assumption is all of them only spend an hour on the ground each day. And I think that they probably did that to try to show the different valuations and how that would affect the respective tax liability based on what the map was.
So let's just use the 737-200 as an example. Say the company does 2 planes. Is their value 13 million in value, or is it?
It'd be 13 million
If they're both on the ground?
each for an hour. They have 2 aircraft, each coming, both of them each coming in for an hour every day.
So say they're only flying one of those in there, the others they're spare.
So one flies every other day.
No, I'm saying just say that one flies but it's broken. So what's the taxable value?
Well, it depends on how long each aircraft, how long you spend it on. Because that's what this is about. Is you're not being taxed when your aircraft is on the ground.
Right. So in that example, with one plane on the ground, that the value of that plane for taxation is 6.5. And if they substitute something,
So the taxable value is a result of how much time an aircraft spent on the ground. And the market value is not going to change. The time on the ground is what changes the time. The longer the more hours it spends on the ground, the higher the taxable value is. And that's why the suggestion was made that per aircraft,
ground, that exemption be applied based on the taxable value. And I think, and that's I believe is a good incentive to incentivize carriers not to pay for their carriers to be here instead of 100% exemption. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
But it's based on time on the ground. I mean,
Okay. So I don't think we've got anything further than at this point. But exemption. Correct. I don't think we've got any.
there's more of an appetite. I mean, the more the exemption removed, the less of the revenue that it generates. But I'm open. Instead of just saying no, I'm not interested. I think it's a worthwhile conversation to have, and I think it's a council.
Okay.
So
there's no reason for any further work session.
well, I'm all about if somebody wants to talk about the carriers want to put that, that's a desire. Somebody's got to speak here.
Hey, Anna.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not you. That's what you're saying.
that's not me. I'm off the.
Okay. It's a 10-second delay, I think, to go to YouTube. So somehow we're getting something like that going.
So I guess and not to drag this out, I would support only a partial removal of the exemption, and I would also support a graduated, kind of gradual implementation if the exemption is removed. It's kind of hard for me to just kind of pick one out of the blue without hearing from anybody else, whether it's the carriers or others. But I do not support completely removing it at 100%, and I also do not support not having a tiered exemption based on the size of your taxable value. I'm sure homeowners would love to have a tiered exemption based on their property taxes as well.
Okay. It does sound to me like we need a work session in order to resolve those issues.
The council, I didn't hear anybody in the council say they wanted another work session.
Well,
And this is the mayor's decision to have another work session.
no, I'm just saying, okay,
four.
we need to have an ordinance
Yes, I agree.
proposed, and if we're going to resolve what that is, we've sat here for 40 minutes now, pretty much on this issue.
And it's an important issue, and we should spend more time if need be.
It is, and that's why I think it should be a dedicated session. But what's the will of the council? I mean, we can always have a work session after we do the first reading, because maybe it'll get killed in the first reading. I don't know.
100% exemption. Would pass that.
I'm not supporting 100% removal of it. If you want me to propose one just to move the conversation forward, I'm more than happy to do that.
Please.
I will propose that the exemption be removed at 50%. So we remove 50% of the existing. The exemption is it's 100% right now.
It'll be 50.
And it would be 50.
Okay. Should we move forward with that? For starters?
Sir.
Okay. Let's put a 50% and hopefully we can come to a kumbaya on that.
And I will mention too, just while we're on the topic, that if this doesn't pass, I will be recommending that 100% of all personal property taxes.
Moving on to citizens' comments. Are there those in the audience that would like to address the council this evening? Please state your name for the record.
Thomas Simonson, President of NOM. I appreciate the council's candid discussions regarding this. I bulldozed in here in the middle of the discussion regarding the taxation on what I assume is the airplane taxation or airport taxation for airplanes on the ground in NOM. I am a strong supporter of finding creative ways of creating revenue sources for the community and city of NOM. I appreciate when I, as a citizen, have some kind of sense of control how that revenue is being taken from my paycheck. So my thought from the discussion that the council just had is if taxes are being added to actors that are not necessarily known based, maybe region based, it will come back and bite me as a resident at some point. You know, if they're tax exempt now, but that is removed, so now they have to pay taxes, then I will still probably have to pay the price in the form of a higher, price ticket. And who knows if that ticket is going to be in proportion to the tax that the company has to pay to the city, or if they're adding 20% just because now there's an opportunity to add some cost to the ticket. It is very expensive to travel in this region, and NOM is blessed to have Alaska Airlines, for example, to travel out of town. A lot of villages only have Bering Air, and thank God for Bering Air. You don't have Raven and Bering Air, and Raven is kind of a cluster. But so those are just some thoughts, and I encourage you to continue the conversation and to find creative ways. But I do like to have a sense of control. If it's a mill tax, for example, at least I feel like it's local. It's decided locally, and I have somewhat of a say in it versus putting the decision in someone else's hand. That makes sense. I don't know, but just us. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So in the revenue projections of this removal of the exemption, Brian basically said that if the exemption is fully removed, it would yield about the equivalent revenue of about 2 mils.
2 million.
2 mils property tax.
Okay.
So the question I have for you, you're a homeowner, correct? Are you willing to pay an additional 2 mils every year on your property tax to continue to maintain the exemption on commercial aircraft? Is that something you're willing to do? That it's a trade-off for you? That you're willing to pay 2 mils in higher property taxes and remove a personal the tax exemption on commercial aircraft?
That's a good question. I think that is probably a question to the greater community if this
Asking you.
Yeah. And so for personally, I still would say that I know what the mill rate is and I know the value of my property, and so I can make, I know I can calculate for it.
You should be able to make that decision.
Right. But if the exemption goes away for airlines, and then I won't know if I'll pay, $300 for a round trip ticket or $500 or $600. How often can I go out?
Why would you pay more for a ticket?
Because at some point a company would probably want to get that money back that they have to spend somewhere. I mean, that's.
And this tax is reimbursable by the federal government to the carriers, understand that.
I have not read that. This is just a reaction as like I said, I bulldozed into the discussion.
Sure, that's fine.
So thoughts.
I think that's, and I'm not meaning to debate, and I apologize if it seems that way, but I think that's an important question for folks to answer. Do you support paying approximately 2 mils every year increase on your home, on your property tax? Me, I'm not in favor of that. For me, I'm a homeowner. I've been a homeowner for 17 years, and it seems like every time there's a hole in the budget, well, let's just increase the mill rate. We're limited on what we can do in terms of sales tax. The voters, 2 years ago, got rid of the 7% seasonal sales tax, so we basically are at 5%. And there's really not a whole lot of other mechanisms that the city council levers to pull besides for increasing revenue at this point in time, rather than just increasing property taxes. So the city council just approved an increase to 11.5. So if you're happy paying 13.5 mils to continue to maintain this exemption on commercial aircraft, that's a good decision, and that's an informed decision. That's why I asked the question.
So enlighten me in the part that I missed. So the tax that would be levied on the airplanes.
Okay.
Carriers. Well, I just to follow up on this, and this is not just for me. This could be for anyone. Okay, but
My time.
the companies get reimbursed by federal. Those companies get reimbursed by federal funds.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's good to have people comment.
Yes. As much time as they need.
Process takes about 10 minutes.
Anyway, please,
Thank you.
introduce yourself.
McCann, citizen, chamber president. You also have in your packet the chamber contract, and so I just wanted to do a couple things here. One, first off, thank everyone that was involved on Friday from the cruise ship. The passengers, start with them for coming to Nome, the city and its businesses for putting their best foot forward. It was really an eye-opening experience to come down, even for the 5 minutes I got to come down on Friday. Our visitor center staff, Chantel and Leon Boardway, and I just wanted to read a couple of the comments that we got back from the ship. So we had a couple through the webcam where people can write direct emails to us, and they come to our email, and Chantel replies to those. And then we had a couple online too, directly related to different posts. So one of them wanted to pass along a big thank you to Nome for making our visit on Nome the 21st of June such a wonderful experience. While walking around your wonderful town, my wife and I were greeted by locals numerous times. We enjoyed the visiting with the community center and the berry festival, and really enjoyed the barbecue chicken offered by the Lions Club. It really hit the spot. While on this extended 28-day cruise, the ports we visited seemed to care less whether we were there or not. During our visit to a certain port, not Nome, while Nome really laid out the red carpet and put the welcome mat on for all on board. I could see the effort your people put into making the town look great, from the flag-lined streets to the baskets of flowers and the numerous other planted flowers. We truly enjoyed our brief stay in Nome, and it will always remain a memorable moment for us. And then another one we had was thank you to every single person who I came in contact with today for making me and my fellow passengers of the Westerdam feel so welcome. It was a lovely visit to your town. Special thanks go out to Leon Boardway at the Visitor Center and Ben Townsend from CanOM for a delightful conversation. So I just say this to show you that your money that goes to the chamber for running the Visitor Center is hard at work. There are a few special projects that you'll see with the next cruise ship next year that'll get implemented that will just be things that we thought about right before the cruise ship, like permanent signage, directing people to different places. And I think that we all took this as a great learning experience and a great experience for our town. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad I can't get involved in the budget discussion.
I'd like to echo what Drew had to say.
Please state your name for the record.
Dan Griffin, private citizen. While the cruise ship participants and we're here in town,
I did have numerous conversations with them. I met with a lot of very friendly people that were excited to be here, that had good things to say. One couple came and gave my little girls friendship bracelets and sat there and asked them about what they were doing and about their day. And it was a very positive interaction that we had with this cruise ship. And I think that we should be proud of our community. We should be proud of those that participated, those that went out of their way to make these people feel welcome. I feel like it was a boon. It was a help to those that do arts and crafts with the Berry Festival, as well as the businesses that benefited from having this year. And I think it was overall a great success.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, another opportunity awaits you in about 2 hours. Okay, moving on to unfinished business then. Ordinance 24-06-09. Mr. Clerk, read that for the second time by title.
Ordinance number 024-06-09. An ordinance amending section 10.30.100 of Nome Code of Ordinances to require proof of rabies vaccination prior to importing any dog into the city of Nome, and amending the minor offense fine schedule.
Thank you. Time is 7:54. The council will stand in recess to take public testimony on this ordinance. Are there members of the public who would like to address it? See no indication. Call council back to session 7:55. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 24-06-09?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Sawaya. Discussion.
And just to clarify, this ordinance is to fill the hole. Basically, we have, is it Parvo that's already in the ordinance about having required vaccinations? We don't have rabies in it, so this is basically filling it.
That is correct, and that would actually bring us in line. That does this.
Any questions?
In the ordinance, it refers to proof of immunization shall be submitted to the city clerk in the form of a signed certification by a licensed veteran or such. Is that, we don't currently do that with Marvel.
I believe this is only with
If you are,
You have to have proof of parvo to bring an animal in, so you would have some type of document from the veterinarian.
right,
Same thing goes with rabies. You would have to show documentation. Even I would imagine the local kennel up here requires proof of either vaccination when you bring the animal in, or you're getting it, or you have to arrange it before you bring the animal in.
so what I'm questioning is B. Is that, I'm familiar with what we currently have, because I've traveled with dogs back and forth from Anchorage. You have to show that to the airline agent on the plane or before they board your dog regarding parvo. And I don't think I've ever had to submit something to the city clerk.
Well, the city clerk's office is also the holder of the rabies licenses, or the licenses that we issue each year. And as my memory serves me, when you get a license each year, you have to show proof of vaccinations for the dogs. And we work, they can either come to the city clerk's clerk's office. They go to the animal house, who also administers it, and the animal control officer will administer it and bring it into the city clerk's office.
So how would it be enforced? Like two different examples. One, pets coming in from Anchorage, Alaska Airlines. Is anybody, you said they check for parvo?
Yeah, that the airline agent will check to make sure you have your immunization, including parvo, because no one has a parvo.
So now that we're theoretically going to pass the rabies part, will they also now, will like Alaska Airlines be provided a copy of the ordinance and then
Copy of the form that they have right there, and there's a special provision having with Hawaii. There's also for the state of Alaska, and it's only no Kotzebue that have special provisions.
We have parvovirus for the city of Nome. Kotzebue has both.
and we'll now theoretically have both. So when somebody wants to bring their pet from Anchorage to Nome, never been here before, Alaska Airlines will be checking now, assuming this passes, not only for parvo but for rabies as well.
Okay, and I want to emphasize this is not simply for Alaska Airlines. We are getting
Okay, for any airline,
any airlines.
yeah, so any airline bringing it, whether it's from the villages to Nome or from
Correct.
the mainland to Nome or wherever, they're going to be checking for this.
They
So
should.
essentially, the airlines are going to be enforcing this, if you will, or screening folks to make sure they have this. Is that correct?
Hopefully, yes.
And I can speak from experience that that doesn't happen. So presently, Alaska Airlines has that form right there that you need to board your pet on the plane with.
We don't need much.
But if you go to another carrier regionally, that form is not there. You don't need that.
So if you're going from the villages, it probably won't be checked.
Well, I'm not saying that, but the main thing I was saying is that how it reads is that even with that, which I think is a good idea, I think this rabies helps. I think it's a good idea as well. But I'd say that the way it reads, we don't currently do that. I don't know if there's a way for the clerk's office to monitor that. I think that's what you're asking to.
It almost sounds like that, you know, if the airlines aren't checking it, you know, we're certainly not sending an animal control officer to the airport, you know, to check out pets. I don't think we should, but, you know.
Well, my goal on when we introduced this was to work with the hospital in particular, because the hospital is working with the villages on veterinarian care, and then make sure the villages are aware if they are shipping a dog or shipping a dog to know that there are some going to be expectations on that person for the dog to come here. I know that, and Cam, you can correct me, I understand they are looking at developing a veterinary program to go out through the villages to take care of animals out there that, you know, where before they were working animals, now they're, you know, pets. And we're having about a number of puppies come into town, and the owners that took them didn't even bother to try to get any vaccination to those animals, and they were, you know, they were actually found out because they were running loose.
Probably how most are found that are not vaccinated.
And I know there's been a big effort because of the rabies outbreaks up here, especially in wild animals, is to encourage pets to get vaccinated for rabies.
So it sounds like there's some work to do sort of on the implementation and enforcement, but I think it's good.
No, I think that's all very good too. Right? What the hospital's doing and what the city's trying to do. I guess my question is do we currently, did this change the language in B where we have, or is that the same
It's the
language?
same
Always
language.
been? It's just language has always been there, it's just that we don't follow that.
I don't know if I don't know. We encourage that a paper is delivered delivered to us, and they come in and they get registered, because you're also supposed to be licensed with your pet in tow. And that is an ongoing effort to get people to license their pets. And we're not trying to find them getting, we're just trying to get voluntary compliance, and if they go ahead and get compliant, then the fine is just wiped away.
I think that this section B is just not necessarily pertaining to travel, it's just in general that proof of vaccination must be submitted to the city. Not acceptable.
I think just, because that's why I pulled the book here, just to see, but I mean, this is verbatim in here, and this section, is entitled, parvovirus vaccination. So now it will be and rabies. And so I guess it's specific, and maybe it's the numbering or the way this is, maybe it should be one and this should be a small b or something. Because that's dealing with.
Is that an administrative issue that we can address after the ordinance is passed?
That can be cleared.
The clerk's office essentially becomes, a contactable party, so that, here, we need to turn this in. Who do we turn it into? Well, so the city clerk's office also issues pet licenses and keeps track of them and works with the animal control officer to keep track of those things. And so it's a point of contact.
And it's not necessarily the duty of the city clerk to receive the immunization prior to traveling here for you to review. It just happens to be in the section right after that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for clarification.
Are there any questions from anybody else on the phone or otherwise? Councilmember Squat? Good. All right, roll call please on the adoption of ordinance 240609.
We'll call on ordinance 24-06-09. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson.
Yes.
Councilmember Piscoya.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All affirmative, ordinance adopted. Moving on to new business then. We have a couple of things with late filing, and while I know the clerk's office is and administration is looking at putting together another process for the next filing year. These for the current year to handle as we have in the past. Is there a motion to accept the property tax exemption as timely filed from Michael and Betty Hannigan, who were out of town?
I'll make that motion to accept this timely file.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Johnson, roll call please.
Councilmember Piscoya.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you. That motion passes. The next one is with regard to Mr. Ian Foster for personal property declaration. He hasn't had a container, but he's willing to settle his account. And the clerk's office has asked whether we consider his late application as time to file for 2024. Is there a motion to that effect?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Johnson, roll call please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Piscoya.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson.
Yes.
Thank you. The next one is Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. This is for a sales tax exemption. They admit they did not timely filed. Motion to authorize the city clerk to review the NCC application for municipal sales tax for 2024 as if timely filed.
I will make that motion. It's time to file.
Second. Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Stoya, roll call please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson. Yes. Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzcoya.
Yes.
Thank you. Then that brings us to resolution 240604. Mr. Clerk, could you read that by title?
Resolution 24-06-04. A resolution approving a contract between the Nome Chamber of Commerce and the City of Nome for operation of the Nome Convention Bureau.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 24-06-04?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Stoya. Mr. Manager, would you like to speak to this bill?
I support this. I think the chamber has been working very well with the city over the last couple of years, and I'd like to see that continue.
It appears it's the same rate as
Sir.
prior.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, Councilmember Johnson.
I have a little bit of a precarious position because normally I've been, what's the word? Exempted? No.
Yeah, the conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. Because I do sit on, as a director on the chamber and also the chamber contracts with Johnson City for primarily Jeremy to do looking at payroll for them. When we sit here with 4 council members again.
And are you the current director for the chamber?
Yes, sir.
So that continues. And how many years have you been doing the contract work or the county work for the chamber in rough numbers? At least.
Long time.
Okay, at least
More
5
than
years. Okay, at least 20. I think everybody knows what you do, and we'd like to get this off the table. So we'll see that you can participate in the vote.
Mr. Mayor, I got, and Mark, we all know what Mark does, and we all know that his position is, I am no longer president of the chamber, but, so I think I can vote, and I didn't vote last year, I think on this when I was president. But I think because just for keep the process, I wouldn't have any concerns about Mark voting on this, just as like a director, but because he also has a contractual relationship with the chamber, and again, this has nothing to do with I think just from an appearance perspective, I would suggest that we delay it. I don't think there's any harm in terms of execution of the contract, delaying it until we have additional council members present to approve this. So I guess my suggestion is that we pause or promote this until we have enough council members, not including Councilmember Johnson, to vote on this.
I remember very vividly having this discussion at the same time last year. It took the council well into, I think, the second meeting of August to be able to pass the contract, which meant the chamber was delayed 2 payments as part of the, impacting, I'm assuming their cash flow, because I can't see how not getting paid that amount of money. So
Even if the contract expired, we can still make payments on the chamber until we have a vote. And again, this is just for me. Why not?
Well,
Why not?
that's
I can't. The auditors do not like this. When we don't pass something relative.
Auditors don't like a lot of things, but again, I think my point is, again, it has nothing to do with Mark and his role in the relationship. It has everything to do with the appearance and transparency and potential conflicts. I totally understand being an unpaid director or an unpaid officer of a nonprofit. I don't have any concerns there, but when you actually have a fiduciary relationship or a contractual relationship, as a, with the nonprofit, I think we need to be very clear on that. So that's where I'm at.
Mr. Mayor, I think procedurally, the conflict was disclosed. I've dealt with conflicts since last year. It's up to the presiding officer to make that determination on whether or not Mark should be able to, or Councilmember Johnson should be able to vote. I remember last year, I think all 4 council members, the same 4, I think it was, all voted on this contract.
Well, the body can overrule my decision if they wish. Or I've also heard about tabling it. That motion would take precedence and is not debatable. So if you're wanting to, we can take up the issue of whether or not there's a conflict.
If nobody else has any concerns about it,
Mr. Mayor,
I think the appearance of it is.
as the parliamentary advisor for this council, this does meet all the qualifications for a conflict of interest. I would agree with Councilmember Johnson's point of view on this. It is a conflict.
And I ruled otherwise. If the council wishes to override that, they can do so. Or we can also table it to the next meeting. And if it's the same people again, we'll take it up again.
Mr. Mayor,
What would you like to do,
just
sir?
no, I agree with Scott on something.
Okay.
And I do agree with that.
Okay, so
I
you're
would
making
second,
the
I would
motion to
second
table.
this. I would second this. I can second it.
Well,
I guess I made the motion.
well, he suggested that.
I'll make the motion, we table it.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to table by Councilmember Henderson, seconded by Councilman Johnson, Member Johnson, to table this to the next meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Piscoya,
No.
Councilmember Martin,
No.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
I vote.
It doesn't make any difference because that still wouldn't create 4. So the motion fails to table. So the resolution 24-06-04 is back for consideration. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution 24-06-04. Roll call to approve the resolution.
And call Councilmember Johnson last, please.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Piscoya,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
May I vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Resolution 24-06-04. I agree with you, Councilmember Henderson, but
Doesn't sound like it.
in order to try to, I mean, sometimes it's just not possible on the way that our rules are written for the number of votes required. Sometimes we might, as was done before, sit for a long time.
I understand the desire of expediency in this case. Nobody is questioning Councilmember Johnson's motives or intent or anything like that. But I think the appearance of how we do business is important. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then, Mr. Clerk, read resolution 24-06-05.
Resolution 24-06-05, a resolution approving a contract with legislative consultants in Alaska for state lobbying services for fiscal year 2025.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 24-06-05?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. I'll second. Thank you, Councilmember Viscoya. Councilmember Henderson, Mr. Manager.
There is a typo. I thought I found them all, but I did not. If under invoices, it says 12 months. Typically, it's 5 months of invoices at 17,000. So that will be before the contract signed. I'm not change on that. I'm sure you're all aware.
The sum is still the same.
Some is still the same.
I noticed that. No, we did have a motion to adopt. There's no further questions, comments, or roll call.
Resolution 24-06-05. This agenda. Council member, or to approve this resolution. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson.
Yes.
Councilmember Piscoya.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. That's the end of our new business. Thomas, did you have anything that you could report for us today?
Certainly. Thomas Simonson, Superintendent, Main Joint Utility System. Again, thank you, Council, for being here and for serving the community. Short update from our end. We sent our crew to the joint hazmat training. I believe it was last week, together with other entities in town, getting all of our staff up to date with their certification. We are continuing our jetting and flushing of our fire hydrants and sewer systems. To date, we have finished ICView, Martinsonville, FAA, and airport in terms of the sewer flushing, sewer jetting, and we are well on our way with the fire hydrant exercises. You might have seen them out there doing this. So far, we did, just as a little comment, we did find one fire hydrant that had seized up and that needed special attention. And that's why we do these exercises, to catch those things now and not during a fire or winter time. So good results there. The line crew has helped out on completing the sound system upgrade on Front Street. So that was operational last Friday. We had functioning sound, and that was awesome. You might have noticed that our windmill number 2 has been down. It has had pitch control issues. So we have technicians coming up to help us resolve that together with our own crew locally. We'll be up and running in no time here soon. And just an update on the Front and N Street lift station project together with NSHC. We're still in conversations with NSHC on the agreement for that lift station. My understanding is that it is has passed much of the hurdles, and will soon be signed.
Just a little bit of wiring, but everybody's in agreement, so. Great, thank you. Mr. City Manager.
I want to also echo the citizens' comments earlier. This past weekend, I think, was probably the busiest I have ever seen it. And I think it shows what a port of call visit can have a difference on the impact versus the turnaround cruises, because I spoke to numerous nonprofits. They were trying to understand what the difference was, why this cruise ship had such an impact. First of all, it was a large cruise ship, but the people came here to visit Nome, to spend money in Nome. When the difference with their turnaround cruises, either they've spent all their money and they want to getting on the plane and leave, or they're getting on the boat here and they may not be spending as much money locally. So with the development of the completion of the third phase of the port, fourth phase, when we build that dock for cruise ships, I think it's going to have a very positive income, come for our small businesses. I know we had numerous comments on Chicken Festival, the Chicken Feed, or however you want to call it, the Lions Club. Those guys were staggering on Friday afternoon, evening.
And the Breakers was closed, remember that?
Yes, and the Breakers was closed, so they didn't have access to the bathroom.
Well, I was thinking of something else, but we're staggering. But
Staggering. You know, a lot of businesses cooperated to make sure that public bathrooms were available through the city. I had numerous veterans asking to where the VFW was, so we want to make sure they're part of this next year. We had Child Advocacy Day going on the parking lot next to us, which the city sponsored. We also sponsored the week before the Music Fest by supplying tables and chairs as part of our contribution. But it really was a great weekend. We had great weather, great boat races on Sunday. Where chicken was sold. So it was a good weekend. And I also want to thank the citizens because 34% of the households participated in the cleanup of Nome. Between those who went and took their stuff out to the Montefiore, to those that we picked up on the extended period, it represented 34% of the households in Nome in terms of volume. And that didn't include, I think, 17 or 18 vehicles and ATVs and snow machines that were taken out there. So if anybody's driven around Nome, it's a lot cleaner. We're also starting to see some properties getting abated and cleaned up. Other than that, the big thing is the move of City Hall. And we're going to be divided into two locations. Finance, codes, and HR will be back in the business offices of the museum where they have already office setups back there and desks that it doesn't take too much effort to light up and to install our phone system. And then the other portion of the staff will go up to the fire department, the public safety building, and occupy the emergency operation training room and vacated offices of the ambulance service. Council meetings and all public meetings we are scheduling up at the Richard Foster Community Room because we have the ability to broadcast. We don't have that full capability at Old St. Joe's. And obviously there's a lot of other public functions. So we're hoping this is not going to last more than 3 months. We're doing this slowly, starting the 1st of December to start transitioning people because we're not moving a lot of office equipment. We're going to be using existing office equipment up there and trying to use as much of our electronic files versus our paper files. So this is going to be a journey. Then we're going to be, one thing we have learned, we need in working with the cleanup, we have to constantly remind people, there's a cleanup, we will be constantly reminding people that we have moved for this 3-month period because people do forget. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure everybody knows where we are. And we're sorry for any inconvenience. And the first part of this will be removing asbestos and lead abatement. And then the heating system is going to be out for at least 3 months. And that's also part of the reason why we're moving. As soon as we can get the heat back on, we're going to start trying to get the clerk's office back here first. So.
sounds great.
So future council meetings will be in the Richard Foster room. Future committee meetings will be in the Richard Foster room.
And the public safety building.
And
we're going to be in their training space, so it's difficult.
Is the city clerk's office going to be in the training space?
Yes.
So that's as you go in, that's on your left-hand side.
Yes, sir. So we'll be putting signage up there, and obviously the door will be always open, and we'll create somewhat of a small barrier so no one can just fully walk into the office. And all of their equipment, the mail equipment, the kiosk, all of that will be up there.
You got any more questions? Go ahead. You don't need any. So are all of our police positions are full? Is that?
We have currently 3 vacancies. Just went out and advertised, and I forget, I think we may have gotten 20 plus real applications.
What's changed? Because we used to struggle to get applications, and now we're getting a lot of applications. Is there something that's changed in terms of?
We have an HR director.
I was leading into that job fair too. And you think that's part of it, or are we getting?
You know, I think when people go online and read about the police, I think it's a better image. Plus, we are letting people know that, you know, we are looking at accreditation and that there's going to be an expectation of a level of professionalism, and that it is, I think that does help. I mean, the council has invested, you know, look at the radio system, which was a failing system, but the decision was made to make sure we have a good radio system for all of our volunteers. People find out about that. People read the newspaper.
I think that I think the police department's overall reputation, appearance, and everything is improving, along with just seeing little things like seeing police officers. I think in the bike, helping the kids with the bikes, and the job fairs that we're doing, and I think we're still on track for accreditation in end of the year. In October, so literally 3 months away, we're going to be fully accredited. And this has been, what, a 4-year process?
3.5 to 4 years.
So, yeah, no, I think that, and I, even though we have shortages or, some vacant positions, I still see police officers out making their rounds and policing and doing their thing. So it appears to me that, the chief that we have is doing an outstanding job. And I just want to take the time to recognize that. I guess it wasn't really a question. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a follow-up question on that, and those positions that are being advertised, are they for police officers to live here and know?
We always encourage police officers. There are 3 shifts available. There's an 8-hour officer, there's 10 hours, and there's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
So the 3 that are vacant right now, one of them is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, the other 2 are remote based.
I could not tell you that, but I will say this. We have 2 officers that want to move, be part of the community, and they're having a challenge to find a house that is not only affordable, but it's a house that they want to be able to be here and invest in Nome. And so those are 2 week on, 2 week off officers that want to live here. And that's the positive thing, is trying to get people to want, it's very hard when some of the state troopers are 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. It's very hard when other jurisdictions throughout Alaska are offering 2 week on, 2 week off. It's very hard, and I don't, not saying that we're not trying to do this, Councilman, because I do believe being part of the community is important. But there are other challenges, based on what a police officer is making. When I'm hearing that at a prison, I don't want to say guard, I'm not sure what the terminology is. Corrections officer, excuse me, is being paid $150,000. that's astounding compared to what we're paying. And, you know, and unfortunately, the state is doing that and offering a regional bonus also of up to 37, 38%. It just makes it difficult. So that's why we try to be a little flexible with even our year-round employees and try to help them.
I still consistently hear the comments about encouraging local hire for the police department and also encouraging police officers to be part of the community, live here. That hasn't gone away.
No,
That's still there. I think that's a good goal to continue to have that.
and I understand that. I mean, and we have, at one time we were working with the NJUS, putting an ad out, and I know the chief has talked to some young local people here to encourage to become a police officer, and I would like more Alaska Native police officers in Alaska, period. I'm not just talking Nome, but in Alaska, period. It's just been, but it's not something we've given up on.
Great, thank you.
And I want to say thank you to NJUS. We're borrowing some fencing from them so we can construct the impoundment yard, and we will give it back when we get our fencing in.
Whenever. Oh, that reminds me of a question. Have we put out an RFP yet to determine if there's any interest in the record service?
The city clerk and I are working doing some sample. Their numbers are a lot higher than our numbers would ever be.
So hopefully by next meeting we'll get
Yes, I'm hoping.
an RFP just to gauge if there is any local interest in that.
We've got 2 RFPs. We're working on that one, and we're working on an RFP to try to save the Masonic and Oddfellows vault out in the cemetery.
With some private contributions.
Some private contributions.
Okay, move on to citizens' comments again. Closing thoughts, parting thoughts, new thoughts, old thoughts.
Stand here and ask a question. City Manager's report, Drew McGann. Are there any impacts that we should expect from citizenry or small business standpoint with the clerk's office being over there for the next 3 months? Whether it be filing things, requesting information, anything that we should share?
Well, I think
as usual.
there's going to be an impact. I think. I mean, we're not ignoring this. For people who are used to having City Hall here, for some people it's very walkable. Some people consider the Richard Foster Room on the edge of town and the Public Safety Building on outside of town, because it's on the other side of Great Kruchek. But we still have the ability to do a lot of filing electronically. And I'm not going to say we're going to be going, if someone has a real problem, we're going to go to their door. But I think we understand, and we're going to try to be as accommodating as possible.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, would you call the roll, please, for council member comments, Mr. Clerk?
Councilmember Martinson.
I have nothing. Thanks.
Councilmember Piscoe. Councilmember Johnson.
No further comments.
Councilmember Henderson.
I just wanted to note roads seem in really good shape. The city roads. I mean, navigating both the state and the city roads, obviously, because there's a lot of paved areas. The state, they're having to chase those holes, but it appears to me that the city of Nome roads are doing fairly well. Now, I understand we haven't gotten to the rainy season yet, and that's usually the test, but the overall condition of the roads appear to be a lot better than they were last year at this time, for what it's worth. So I don't know if, I'm sure there's probably, reasons for that, but I just wanted to note it. It seems like a lot of our city departments, are executing on their mission. There's definite improvement, whether it's the police department, whether it's the roads, whether it's dealing with some of this deferred maintenance that we're doing, the buildings and so forth. And I just want to say thank you for that, because there seems to be an improvement in the city services that we're providing. And then also, and what's key is filling the positions. Thank Cynthia for basically taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and start filling some of these positions, whether it's the job fair and getting all of this online, notifications out there for things like, police officers and things like that. So I just wanted to say that definitely is noticeable that I think that the services the city is providing has improved in the last year or two, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
So that was that. Okay, moving on to mayor's comments. I do want to echo the great job with the cruise ship, Gnome Discovery Tours, Robin, David Karp, all of the tour guides that they hired that were walking around, showing people around. A lot of cheerful faces from Gnomites, and the same from visitors, as well as just the general citizenry that we've already gone through. Some comments there from Drew on the reports that came back from folks, and Cole Cushman forwarded us a article that was written that was very complimentary on folks visit here to Nome, and we'll see about getting that printed and distributed. The Midnight Sun activities, as they were great, and I want to give an added girl to Christine Piscoya, and a couple of others that she got to assist with her to coordinate the parade. After being exhausted from a couple days of chicken, unfortunately I missed the parade, but I got to see it on Facebook, and it looked like everybody had a great time. So that's good when people will step up and assist either on new events, on existing events, or on new ones. And you'll be seeing and hearing about a new one coming up for 4th of July here soon. On the visit here, kudos to whoever selected the paint scheme for our bus stops. Those were really classy looking, nice, clean, bright, not just the off-white that were used for these little pop-up shops. So there were some greens, and I don't know what all in it. The green one was here by City Hall, some reds and whatever. They're up by the snow dump, so if you happen to wander through, and Glenn tells me that they're all going to be painted very similarly. So that was a real nice addition. I also became aware that the National Weather Service was recently in town and took a big dump truck and threw everything out of their offices in the ARF building out there, and they are relinquishing that space to the state for other use. But along that way, it may be that another effort to contact because FAA has some and National Weather Service has other for the housing up on the hill. I hate having people, not living in town, but there's a possibility, perhaps, that that housing could address some of the challenges that we're finding presently. And then on July 10th, and I believe you said 5:30, Glenn, for the Benville family.
Well, right now it's 5:30.
Okay.
I've got to get a hold of Derek tomorrow.
Okay. Anyway, the Benville family, unable to come up when Mayor Richard passed away, with COVID and everything going on. Family now will be gathering, and they're actually coming to Nome for a couple of days. So they will be holding a reception that the city will be assisting with at Old St. Joe's on July 10th. Is what we're believing it will be. Time to be determined. So they would love to see anybody in town that would like to come and share any stories with them, that'll be nice. So communicating with many of these family members over time with email and phone, but it'll be nice to see them as well. And I think that's it. We have a couple of matters here on property acquisition and police issue, and these are required to be confidential, so I'd ask for a motion to recess into executive session, subjects being police matters and property acquisition.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Johnson, roll call please.
Councilmember Piscoya.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. We will be in executive session. There's no action anticipated following that. We'll come out and adjourn. Time is 8:44. Thank you all for your attendance tonight. And
Quiet all of a sudden. Quiet all of a sudden.
Almost camp.
Wait till I ask the question.